Welcome back, Chapter 8. Megan Quill lived in the upstairs apartment of a tree-shaped private home off of Selby Avenue, 3 blocks from the University of St. Thomas. The home was older, pre-World War II, 2 stories with an attic under the roof, with white clapboard siding and a stingy front porch. Virgil was familiar with Selby from his days as a St. Paul cop. He'd taken any number of calls on the street, including a murder, but miles farther east. He parked under a maple tree and walked up to the front door, which had 3 mailboxes to one side. Access to the second-floor apartment was up an interior staircase. Virgil rang the doorbell, and a moment later, an elderly lady shuffled up to the door, opened it 3 to 4 inches, and asked through the crack, "Can I help you?" Virgil identified himself and asked about Quill. "Well, she's up. I heard her flush the toilet," the old woman said, opening the door all the way. She was chewing something and smelled of masticated bread. You can go on up. She's in number 1. There's another ringer by her door. Push the button. She has friends over. The house smelled of musty wallpaper and bug spray, and the narrow, dark wooden stairs creaked as Virgil went up. A short hallway apparently led to a bathroom at the back of the house with a door that had a silver 2 next to it. Virgil went back the other way to the front of the house to a door with a 1. He pushed a button to the side of the door, and from inside the room a woman shouted, "What?" Virgil didn't want to shout an answer, so he pushed the button again. "For Christ's sakes, who is it? I'm not up," the woman said. "Is that you, Walt?" Virgil said as quietly as he could and still be heard on the other side of the door, "Bureau of Criminal Apprehension." After a moment of silence, he heard voices, then footsteps coming to the door, which flew open. Megan Quill, standing there barefoot in a cranberry-colored terry cloth robe, was a fleshy young woman. She was pretty, medium blonde, with a narrow nose and thin lips, much like her father's, and hazy blue eyes. Under her left eye, she had a bruise the size of a $50, now going yellow. Bruise? Was she the one yielding the bat? At the same time that she opened the door opened on apartment 2, and a white man with a North Korean dictator's haircut stuck his head out. Quill shouted, her voice shrill as a stepped-on cat's. "Go back inside, Dick. This is none of your goddamn business." The man's head disappeared and the door slammed. Quill said to Virgil, I've already talked to the police like 3 times. "I know, but I'm new on the case and wanted to chat," Virgil said. "What happened to your eye?" "Well, I wasn't beat up or anything," she said. "I got all these games stacked up in my closet. Some asshole in high school gave me a wooden chessboard, and when I tried to pull another game out, the chessboard flew off the top and hit me in the fucking eye. I mean, like, Jesus Christ, I thought I was blinded. It only weighed about 50 pounds. "Can I come in?" She walked away from the open door and Virgil followed, pushing the door shut. Quill had 2 rooms, a living room with a bed that folded out from a couch and a kitchen/dining area. A fat kid wearing a t-shirt that said Waterboard Warehouse, American's Waterboard Superstore, sat at the kitchen table, cursing at an Apple laptop, and a tall, long-haired blonde dude with an earring and wearing a knee-to-neck cook's apron, but nothing else, was scrambling eggs at the stove. Both the men appeared to be in their early 20s. A side door led to a compact bathroom that once had been a large closet. Virgil could see a sink with a medicine cabinet above it, the edge of a toilet, and a handle to a door that probably opened on a shower. There was a 4th door, closed but with no locks, so it was probably a closet. Quill said to the 2 guys, "The cops are here." The guy at the computer said, "What's up, Doc?" in a perfect imitation of Bugs Bunny. The dude said, "I was offered some, but I didn't inhale. And You want some scrambled eggs? They're really good. I use paprika. Virgil shook his head, said no thanks, then said to Quill, I need to ask you some questions. If you prefer to do it in private, you can ask your friends to take a walk around the block. The dude might want to put on some clothes. No way, she said. I want witnesses. Quill dropped onto her bed, her robe parting as she did it, exposing her legs to a soft, unembellished mid-thigh. She said to Virgil, There's a folding chair in the closet, or you can sit on the corner of the bed. Virgil wanted to look in the closet anyway, so he opened the door without a lock, found 4 metal folding chairs under a hanger bar that was loaded with jeans and blouse. He pulled out one of the chairs, unfolded it, and sat down. The computer said, If you lean forward just right, I bet you could see her pussy. Here they go with this creepy shit. Shut up, Jerry, Quill said, rolling her eyes. She picked up a ceramic ashtray from off the floor, groped in her robe, produced a pack of Camels and a yellow plastic lighter, and fired up a cigarette. She didn't blow smoke at Virgil, but she didn't try to blow it away either. She said, Jerry's obsessed with my pussy. I let him see it, but I don't let him touch it. Brett can touch it anytime he wants. I appreciate the privilege, said the dude. Virgil was watching the bare-ass dude. He seemed to be too much in touch with the eggs he was stirring. He was coming down from a high, but from what Virgil didn't know, I still vote to let Jerry watch. Jerry said, props, and went back to his laptop. Quill said, can we talk about it when the cop is gone? Virgil exhaled impatiently as Quill blew another cloud of smoke through her Cheshire cat grin and said, I thought you kids vaped. A, I'm not a kid, she said. B, I need the nicotine right now, and I get it from Camels, like instantly. And C, it pissed off my father. He of the dented head. Dang, she crude. That's a little crude, Virgil said. Live with it, she said. What do you want to know? Eggs are ready, said the dude. Give her a plate, Virgil told him. We can talk over it. One of the things we try to do is connect the murdered person with anyone who might have a tendency to be violent, Virgil told Quill. Not saying you're lying, but I like to see that chessboard. She stared at him for a second, the camel hanging from her lower lip, then said, Sure, it's at the top of the pile in the closet. Help yourself. Gerbil. Virgil went back to the closet and opened the door. Above the hanging bar, a shelf was piled with old-fashioned board games in tattered cardboard boxes, as though they've been inherited. Risk, Stratego, Scramble, Clue, Monopoly. Quill said, the chessboard's up on top of the Monopoly. Monopoly was in its thick blue box, and Virgil reached up, grabbed it, pulled it forward, and the chessboard on top of it flew off and nearly clipped his forehead. It clattered to the floor, and Quill started laughing and simultaneously choking on the smoke from her Camel. Told you, she said, that motherfucker almost scalped you. The fat kid and the dude were grinning at him. The kid said, moving to the Elmer Fudd voice, You crazy wabbit. I can see how it could happen, Virgil said. He picked up the heavy board 4 inches thick with internal drawers for the pieces, shook it once, then propped it against the wall of the closet. You guys play a lot of games? Virgil asked. Jerry does. He's a fucking psycho, never stops, Quill said. Brett and I play when we're not touching each other. True that, Brett said. I spent 3 hours dreaming about that yesterday afternoon. The most beautiful dreams. All right, Virgil said to Quill. Now let's talk about your father. He went back to his chair, watching Quill as she switched one leg over the other, sliding the gown another 2 inches higher. Train had called Quill a sad sack, but she hadn't come off that way to Virgil, If anything, she seemed manic. Tell me about your history with your father. I hardly knew him, she said. He was a fascist asshole, Jerry said. Jerry speaks the truth, said Brett. It's possible that his death was karmic payback. Virgil, for what? Because he worked hard and didn't smoke weed? Brett, no, because he gave the orders about how everybody should conduct their lives, and he expected everyone to follow his orders. And if you didn't spend your life studying medicine, you weren't worth talking to. You were basically something stuck to the bottom of his shoe. I know a lawyer he spent time with, played handball. They seem to get along fine. Law, medicine, all the same thing, Jerry sneered. You go to college for 100 years, then work for rich people. They have a different opinion of her father. Her parents had been divorced when she was 2 years old because Quill said her father was never home. He was always pursuing his career. He didn't care about Mom at all, especially not after I was born. His spermies had done their thing. He always supported you and your mother, Virgil said. That was the least he could do. He was rich and we weren't. Mom was working on her PhD when they met, and he took her away from it, and she never got it. She's been teaching at a community college ever since, over by White Bear Lake, Quill said. Getting the money was better than nothing, but money isn't the same as having an actual, father. Brett was walking around the kitchen area, eating eggs off the cast iron skillet, and he said, an actual father gives solid structure to your life. Virgil ignored him and said to Quill, Sergeant Train told me that you've been seeing more of him lately. Only so he could get on my case about schoolwork, Quill said. He wanted to see if his investment in me was paying off. When he thought it wasn't, he'd get pissed off. Not so upset that he didn't give you that trust fund. Once again, the least he could do, she said. And when he was killed, you got a payday that stretches out for another 11 years? No, that comes from the trust. I would have gotten it anyway. I am getting it anyway. She snubbed out the cigarette. Give me a fucking break, huh? I didn't kill him. I didn't even know how to find him if he wasn't home. Never even been up to his lab. As far as I know, he could be making a new Frankenstein up there. How often were you going over to his house? Maybe every week or two. I'd go over to get money from him. I'd say, let's talk about psychology. Should I switch my major to psychology? We'd talk about it, and before I left, I'd say, could I get some pizza money? And he'd throw me 100 or a couple of hundred. That's a lot to me, but not to him. I don't even think he noticed what he was giving me. Doesn't exactly make the case that he was an asshole, Virgil said. Throwing your daughter a few bucks doesn't cure you of being an asshole, Jerry said. Brett, he was a global asshole, but he could be okay on the specifics. Why is Jerry so? Maybe he feeling that way because his Quill is feeling that way about her father because his feelings are strong. Virgil asked Quill what she knew about her father's second and third wives. The answer was straightforward. Nothing. Never met either one of them. So you had no idea about any stress or conflicts he might be going through? Well, his fight with that lady professor is pretty famous, made the TV news. They even argue about it over here at St. Thomas. I'd look at her if I were you. Or his girlfriend, Jerry said. Virgil's eyebrows went up. His girlfriend? I didn't know he had one. He did. I believe she was married. She was wearing a ring. I gotta wonder if his wife knew about her. Megan said when he died, the wife got in line for a bundle. If he doesn't die, and there must be a prenup, she wouldn't get much. And there's already a girlfriend set to scoop him up. Of course, maybe the girlfriend husband got overheated and took him out. Or maybe the girlfriend didn't want her husband to find out she'd been fucking Barth and she did him in. Lots of possibilities there. Virgil to Quill. Sergeant Train didn't say you mentioned a girlfriend. She shrugged. Jerry hadn't told me about her when Train talked to me. Back to Jerry. You don't know her name. Anything about her? Nope. What happened was I walked into a Starbucks and saw Barth talking to this good-looking woman, maybe 40, reddish hair, cut short like an Olympic ice skater used to have. Looked rich. She was wearing clothes like she was going out horseback riding. You know, tall leather boots, tight-ass pants, the whole Brit horsey thing. Like she walked out of a castle to hunt a fucking fox. And that wedding ring. The two were laughing, and I thought, because you never saw Bart laughing that much. But then I forgot about it. What made you think they might be close? A week after that, I was over at the U, and I'm pretty sure I saw him walking along with a black German shepherd on a leash. That was a surprise. As far as I knew, he didn't have a dog. Quill shook her head. Never. Jerry. Then, let me see, Saturday. No, Sunday morning. I saw the woman again, and she was walking a German shepherd, and it looked like the exact same dog. She went past me 6 feet away. She called the dog Blackie, which was pretty clever since he was black. You sure it was him you saw with the dog? You said pretty sure. That's what I was, pretty sure, not positive. Virgil. No idea where we could find the woman? No, she was just a woman, Jerry said. I can't even promise there was anything going on there, but I think there was. Why would he be walking that dog when he didn't even like dogs? That was in the morning, early, like the dog had been with him the night before. Quill, Jerry, and Brent all hung up out in the dinky town, a business residential area adjacent to the University of Minnesota that catered to students because there was more going on in Dinkytown than around St. Thomas. Quill and Brett both knew this because they had high school friends going to school there. I've got a guy over there in Dinkytown, Quill said. About a month ago, I spent the night, fucking and sucking. Don't tell me that, Jerry said. I'm getting nothing. Virgil held up a finger. Something for all three of you? In June, I busted a young woman down in Worthington for murder. She was a couple of years younger than you guys, 17. She got drunk and wasted on methamphetamine. She was on the bed naked with her boyfriend and his other girlfriend taking turns with each other, and she freaked out and started brawling with her boyfriend and the other girl. She wound up stabbing the boyfriend to death with a kitchen knife, stuck it right in his neck, severed his carotid artery, and he spewed blood all over the trailer, coming out like a fire hose. The other girl was trying to help him, but then the first girl, the killer, went after her too and cut up the other girl's face and hands and breasts. When I saw her, the other girl looked like she'd been shoved through a wood chipper. So neither your language nor your sex life is going to shock me. The language is just sort of tiresome. Thank you for saying that, because why you got to keep mentioning it? It's not important. It makes me tired to hear it. Exactly. If you wouldn't mind, knock it the fuck off. That's right. Tell him. I don't want to read it. I'm trying to stay alert. I don't need to be dozing off. Brett laughed, a soft, rolling laugh that made Virgil again think he might be coming down off of a high. But Quill snapped. Tough shit. Fuck you. Virgil made a rolling motion with his index finger. The friend? You spent the night with a friend? Yeah, sucking and fucking, she said defiantly. She shook another cigarette out and twiddled it. This was a month ago, about 1 o'clock in the morning. We went out to see if we can get a slice at this bar, and I saw Barth go by in his sports car. This silver Beamer with his top down, supposed to be some kind of rare ride. I thought he was cruising, for women. I thought the car might be a bait. Was he with a woman? She shook her head. No, passenger seat was empty. He was crawling along at 10 miles an hour like he was looking for people coming out of bars. Young pussy, Jerry said. Can't hold that against him. Quill had no more information about that, and Virgil moved along to other topics. She said that she and her father didn't have many issues, except that he thought she was lazy, and she thought he was a rigid asshole, and he smelled some weed on her one morning and had given her a hard time. She didn't use any other dope, she said, and could hardly wait until Minnesota legalized marijuana. Did your father use any drugs that you're aware of, illegal drugs? Her eyes narrowed, and she took a moment to light the cigarette. Interesting you should ask, she said. I don't do cocaine myself, can't afford to, but it occurred to me once that he reminded me of a cokehead I used to know. The older real estate guy from Apple Valley who hung out at the bars by the U, trying to pick up the young chicks. Talked about his deals and his coke like anyone might care. I was at Barth's house a couple of times and he made me think of that, but I don't know that he used anything like coke. She had little more. The night or morning that her father had been killed, she'd been there in her apartment with a half dozen friends coming and going, eating pizza and drinking beer and playing the old games in the closet. And Twister. The Twister, she implied, was played totally ironically. Not by me, Jerry said. I got in a couple of good gropes. The friends had started coming over about 8 o'clock, and all but one had left around 4 o'clock in the morning. Another young woman who lived at home in White Bear Lake hadn't wanted to drive all the way back and had stayed over. They both slept in until noon and then had gone out for bagels and coffee. The other girl hadn't left her apartment until almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Virgil asked if she knew anything else he ought to know about. She didn't. Then unexpectedly she added, You know, I didn't hate Dad. Toward the end, I even started to like him a little bit. But he was so hard-assed and he never let up. She seemed about to tear up. Virgil nodded and told her he might be back. I can't ever tell in advance what might be relevant when I talk to people. Anytime, but call ahead. I want to get my story straight, Quill said, back to the sarcasm. Brett said, Hey, tell him about the weird guy we met on the sidewalk. Quill frowned and said, Oh yeah. What weird guy? Virgil asked. They told him about the neatly dressed man who they encountered on the street who asked questions about the investigation. They had no information about him other than the description which Virgil took down in his notebook. I thought afterward that he might be a cop, but he said he was a student. He was too old to be a student, though, Quill said. He didn't give you a name, nothing at all? No, we were standing there eating ice cream. And he started talking to us. Then he got in his car and drove off. Brett said, He knows that green person, the professor. He said he was an anthropology and saw her around the building. I guess they're in the same building? Huh? Virgil didn't know exactly what to think about that. I'll ask around. As he turned to leave, Brett said, Have a good day, man. And he sounded sincere. Jerry slapped his laptop and said, What a piece of shit. It's like somebody's got to carry every fucking bite up the fucking stairs. Quill asked him, Want a pussy shot to keep your blood pressure up? Absolutely. Quill turned her back on Virgil and pulled the rope wide. Jerry said, Oh my God. Virgil left, muttered, Jesus. Fuck you, Quill shouted after him. Ugh. Virgil had a text from Train that said she'd be in the office. Virgil drove back across the river and found her eating lunch at her computer. When he walked in, she turned and said, Interesting interview with one of the lab technicians. Remember that I mentioned that Quill was involved in a lawsuit? Yeah, I saw that in your notes. I talked to the university lawyer. who will be defending the case if it goes to court, but I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. I couldn't see a connection. Now the lab guy tells me that a year or so ago, a quadriplegic, named Frank McDonald had nerve rerouting surgery that was planned and directed by Quill. Another surgeon, a microsurgeon, did the actual procedure. Beforehand, McDonald had some small amount of movement in his arm and 4 fingers. Afterward, he got more movement, but supposedly he also had a lot of pain. He had a month of physical therapy after the surgery, but when he returned home, that care was reduced to 3 hours a day in the morning, early afternoon, and evening. The first day, the reduced care started after his wife went out to a supermarket. The guy used his new mobility to swallow a whole tube of killers. He was dead when the wife got back. Whoa. Yeah, his wife is suing the hospital and the doctors involved, saying they should have understood that McDonald needed intensive psychotherapy as well as physical therapy to deal with his new condition. Her main target was Quill, who she said talked the McDowell into the surgery. You think she might have gone after him? We should talk to her anyway. The lab tech said Quill described her as a greedy nut job who was living high on her husband's insurance payments. You know, it sounds like the tape, talking somebody into surgery, Virgil said. It does. It seems unlikely that she'd kill him, though, Virgil said. If she has a lawsuit going, it seems like she's found an outlet for her anger. And how would she get up in the library in the middle of the night? And why would she be up there? Don't go dissing my lead. She was up there to grab the computer to see what Quill was saying about the operation. Virgil said nothing, but he raised his eyebrows. All right, Train said. You get anything from Megan? She thinks it's possible that Quill used cocaine, and a friend of hers said he had a girlfriend. What? She got up, rocking back and forth on her feet, listening, as Virgil told her about the possible girlfriend. When he finished, Train said, a red-headed married woman in English riding outfit who has a German Shepherd and goes to Starbucks? Shouldn't be impossible to find her. Virgil, the question is, why didn't anyone else know about her? Why didn't she come forward? She's got to know that Quill was murdered. And given that description, that we eventually hear about her, unless it really is all disconnected, that she and Quill brushed by each other at Starbucks and exchanged a couple of words, the German Shepherd being off the wall, coming from somebody else differently. Or maybe it wasn't actually Quill that this guy saw walking the dog. He wasn't positive. Virgil said he was pretty sure. Look, if he had a girlfriend, we're starting to develop a picture of a guy who actually did talk to people. That cocaine could have belonged to a friend. Jack Combs seemed to think that if you even mention it to him, he might cross you off his list of friends. Unless he needed something from the cokehead, like sex. Virgil agreed. Okay. She looked at her watch. The early shift at Starbucks will be getting off. If we ran over there right now, Train drove as she did, Virgil said, things are starting to pile up. There's a computer and a phone and keys out there somewhere. If we could find any of them, that'll be big. Quill was fighting with Green, and Green supposedly had at least a couple of students who are capable of violence. He has an estranged wife who would greatly profit from his death. He might or might not use cocaine, so he might or might not know drug dealers. He might or might not have a girlfriend with a dog who hasn't made herself known, which is interesting. He was probably killed by somebody he somewhat trusted, since he was turned away from them in the corral. He was selfish about giving his employees scientific credit, and Quill might have been involved, somehow, in an illegal medical procedure. The killer's probably male or a strong female to be able to hit him with a heavy laptop. Anything else? I'll think of something else later. Right now, that seems to be the list. I don't see any connections. Neither do I. Maybe we'll get some from the horsewoman. There's a word you don't often hear, horsewoman, but you hear it more often than you do horseman, Virgil said. They spoke to the staff at Starbucks. Nobody could remember seeing a red-headed horsewoman. They had a number of redheads, though, and a horsewoman in English riding gear who was a frequent customer, but the woman was black. Another frequent customer came in with a German Shepherd guide dog, but was seeing impaired and male, and the dog was mostly tan with some black markings. Several members of the weekday staff weren't working. Train got a venti cappuccino and Virgil a hot chocolate, and they walked back to her car. I'll check with the staff on Monday. You're going home tonight? She asked. Yeah, I'll take a printout of your files with me and read them again, Virgil said. The rest of the day, I got the names of these 2 green grad students who she thought might be capable of violence. I'll look them up before I leave town. I'll call if that turns into anything. I'm interested in this girlfriend. I'll check everybody on that, and I'll see if I can wake up a narc and ask about dealers who sell coke to faculty over here, if they know anything about that. One hand on your gun if you find the dealer, always. And that's the end of chapter 8. Okay, so I'm going to just get the part that's annoying. All the sex talk, so cringe. It's so cringe, especially when your mind is set on the details that they're given, and then they throw that in there, and you like, come on now, unnecessary. So I got that off my chest. Hopefully it stopped. Okay, so let me think. So they're getting closer to, I think, no, they're not getting closer. They still seem kind of far away from any suspects, but they don't know if it's a man or a woman, and they don't know if drugs are involved. They don't know if malpractice is involved. Quill's friends, the man Quill, the father, his friends seem to think that he's a good person, but Quill, the daughter's friends, think that he's not. And I don't know if that's just judgment. I had soda, so I apologize for burping. And, where was I? I don't know if it's the friends that's just because the Quill daughter wasn't, her and her father didn't have a good relationship. So I don't know if that's just because of that. I think we still need some more information. What y'all think? I think we get in bits and pieces and stuff like that, but it's just jumbled all up in my head. I don't know which way to pin anything. So that's it. No definitions, no words that I stumbled over. I knew everything that I was saying. So I shall see you in the next chapter. Bye for now.